So here we have a sporty looking charcoal frost metallic axe. It's a Rasmus Chinese import Suhr guitar. And it was pretty nice, but it did need some work, in my opinion. So quickly, they use a really good bridge. It's a real nice Godo Floyd. It's pretty high quality. I guess it's kind of like pretty much the best available right now, I think. I know that the Fender Floyd Roses were not so great. The pickups are really good. Uh, the fretwork was about 85% there, but there was a little bit of weird stuff here and there where there was a couple frets that were seemed to be loose and weren't perfectly leveled. So we went through and made sure that every fret was glued in. We glued down all the frets, and then did another fret dress and polish. And so the action is kind of silly low. The other little problem was that the nut was too high, and there were no shims under it, so we had to grind the nut down a little bit, and now it's just right. They do kind of skimp on the tuners, but not a big deal really, because you only use them really to put the strings on one time, tune them, because the the locking system, you use the fine tuners. Rewired the way the pickups work. And speaking of the wiring, the pots, the input jack, pretty chintzy, real bad taper, on the stock volume pot. So these are new pots. This is a CTS, and this is a DiMarzio. The switch is the 5-way big multi-pole switch, and even the input jack was real kind of flimsy. So I put a Switchcraft nicer jack, heavier, and a good, this little football plate is a heavier duty one than the one that was there. Put strap locks on it. The wiring is new, a little bit different. I really don't like having two humbuckers on at the same time unless I can blend the vol. If I had two volume controls, like on a Les Paul, that's great, because then you can kind of blend them. And usually it sounds great if you have both pickups on. The treble pickup is all the way up, and then you just bleed in the humbucker, the neck humbucker a little bit, and you get a nice blend. But one volume control with the two humbuckers I wasn't crazy about. So the wiring that I changed it to is now they have 3 different settings for this humbucker. So when the switch is all the way up toward the neck, I get series. The next position is split, where this coil stays on, and then the middle position is parallel. And then the next position is the middle 2 coils, and then finally the last one is the full series humbucker. The this is a single screw vintage Suhr pickup, and it's real nice. The difference between the way it sounds parallel and split is subtle. The parallel is, of course, quiet. There's no 60 cycle noise, but it's a little on the sterile side compared to when you have the single coil actual split. It sounds very close, but a little more chimey, a little more rich. Although if I was in some situation where I couldn't take the noise, this pickup in parallel is not a bad alternative. The other thing that was a little odd I thought, was that the springs were real kind of heavy tension, real high tension. And this claw was way down here, so that the screws were quite a bit exposed, as if they were hardly in the body. It seemed like they were in the body like maybe a quarter of an inch. So I put these black kind of lower tension tremolo springs, and they bend a lot easier. And then crank the claw back so that I actually have some screws deeper into the body. Just kind of, maybe it's just being fussy, but I kind of like having those screws in rather than the claw just barely hanging on there. And so that's that. It plays like lightning. The action is probably a little silly as far as how low it is. And if you dig in too hard, you get a little rattle, but it's that kind of guitar. It's not really a vintage Tom Petty type thing. So there it is, and it came out pretty good.